And in practice, our practice often in in Buddhist tradition begins with refuge and bodhicitta. And refuge can be very formal or it can be informal. And bodhicitta can be formal or informal too. I want to start with informal and then we'll do a little bit of chanting just to center and to start our practice of meditation. Refuge is a practice of finding safety, finding ground, and refuge is kind of a model for how we can begin anything. We can begin anything we're doing with finding safety, support, and ground. So refuge is a spiritual practice, but it's also a life practice of when we begin, whatever we're beginning, finding ground and finding safety. And then bodhicitta, which we also practice at the beginning, is the practice of opening the heart. So we begin every practice with finding ground, finding safety, and opening the heart. Isn't that a beautiful model for how we could be in the world? That we could begin a new friendship with finding safety, ground, and opening the heart. Begin a project, finding safety, ground, opening the heart. Begin a new relationship, finding safety, ground, and opening the heart. Very wise kind of model for how we could live, but it is also the model for how we practice meditation. So this morning, we're going to start with opening the heart and then move into ground and safety, which is also fine. You can do that too. And so to open our hearts this morning, just want to invite you to move into gallery view and to connect to one another. And just to remember as we visually connect that we are Sangha community here, and you have friends here. Or even if you've never been here before, you are among friends, among those that are wanting to turn inwards and see what's here together. Just remembering that. And then taking a moment to wish each other well. So in the practice of opening the heart, we can send a wish of love. And in the Buddhist tradition, that wish of love takes the form of wishing others happiness and the causes of happiness. So just taking a moment to wish one another happiness and the causes of happiness. And to send one another a wish of freedom from suffering and the causes of suffering. May you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Sometimes in Buddhism, we talk about all sentient beings, which is a wonderful idea, a wonderful concept, but it's really awesome when you can really do that with beings that are right here, right now. So just such an opportunity when we're in Sangha to be with each other right here, right now. May you be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. You can include yourself in that wish. May we be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. opening the heart. And now just closing our eyes for a moment. Just feeling coming down into the heart center and feeling the heart open. And if it's helpful for you to place hands on the heart, do that. Just to feel into that part of your body. And feeling the heart open. You can take an inhale or two and feeling the space of the heart open on the inhale, just inhaling. Feeling the heart opening and exhaling, feeling the heart send care, love into the field. Opening the heart on the inhale and sending care, love from the heart on the exhale. We'll do one more breath like that. And just noticing on those 3 inhales and exhales how that opening the heart just relaxes the body. It just happens. When our heart is open, body relaxes. A beautiful connection between the heart and the rest of your body, rest of the nervous system. And we can move back into speaker view if you like, or stay with gallery view, whatever you prefer this morning. And we'll move into the practice. So if you're in a place right now where the screen is front and center, you might want to just kind of move it to the side a little bit. You want to keep it in your periphery just to remember we are here together. But moving into a position for your body and a space of practice, and this invitation here to, if you need to stand up and move your body a bit or get it into the place it wants to be, to sit. We're going to sit for about half hour, so I want to be comfortable. And now that you're settled in a comfortable position, letting this thinking mind come down into the feeling body. Even when we don't realize we're up in the head. We are so often up in the head. Really move down from there into the feeling body. Begin to notice what's going on below the neck, down here. If you come down, and we notice some parts of your body that are holding a little tension, shoulders, noticing a little holding in the belly and the front body, and letting go of that holding on the exhale. And I notice as you are down here in the area of the torso, the heart, the belly, soft front, there's some residue of feeling from your morning, these little edges of discomfort or irritation or whatever the emotional tone is that you're carrying with you right now. I'm guessing that's there. And breathing some space into that and around that, not trying to make it go away, whatever tone is there, whatever residue is there, not trying to send it elsewhere, but just giving it some space, breathing around it, inviting it to be present with you right now. This beautiful feeling. Breathing some sunlight around it, some air. You might want to say to your feeling, you are welcome here. Come along and practice with me. Coming home to feeling. Letting your attention continue its journey down the body, all the way to the base of your body where the body meets the cushion or the chair. Noticing that down there at the base of your body, you are already solid and grounded. Coming home to your earth body. body like a mountain. I'm noticing that on this mountain, the body, or in the mountain, there's movement. This fresh, alive inhale, and this warm, soft exhale. And then the space between. This natural flow of the breath. This expanding heart on the inhale. This relaxing heart on the exhale. Coming home to the breath. Notice the ways that thought vies for your attention. The way the trains of thought tug at your attention. And you notice just letting this breath itself wake you up and draw you back home. Landing more fully right here. Right now. Now, and then exhale, feeling your senses falling open. On an exhale, feeling the ears open. And then skin sense, tactile sense open. Feeling the eyes open. And with the eyes open. Let your gaze be panoramic and that feeling that you're at the back of your skull, looking through the vast picture windows of your eyes. not up at the front of your skull, not right in the eyes, but in the back of your skull, gazing up, coming home through your senses. And just noticing this coming and going of thought, these thoughts dancing on the periphery of your awareness. Letting them be like leaves in the wind passing. You don't have to follow. You don't have to push away. Letting them dance and free themselves in their own time. Coming home to awareness. finding ease with what is right now as it is. I hope you heard that that gong, but if not, thank you, Rick, for telling me you heard that you heard. As you also might hear, I don't know if you can, there's quite a storm going on here right now, and it's very alive. So I'd like to invite you all to stand and stretch. We are going to take about a 7-minute break, and we'll come back at 1:45 just to give yourself a chance to stretch and use the facility if you need to. When you come back, I will be offering my Dharma reflection for the morning. Welcome back. This morning's practice is was one of coming home. In meditation practice can be that a way to embody a return to everything that we experience and are in the here and now. We live in a time when it's becoming increasingly difficult to come home that way. And it takes discipline to do so. And why do I say it's a time when it's becoming difficult to do that? I'm referring to the life that we live that is so connected to technology. And in some ways, technology is an amazing tool. It allows us to be right here with each other right now. That's one of its best superpowers, is connection. And that's the part of it that I value and trust. But there's also an aspect to technology that encourages us to escape what we're experiencing in the quote unquote real world, the real world of this present moment, the world of the body, the world of what I might call the radical present, the world in which we are feeling more than thinking, the world in which we are a part of the planet, um, the world of the natural and the living. And so I want to talk about that a bit this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. I'm in Hawaii, as you know, probably, where this storm is happening. So just this encouragement to consider a bit uh, the world that we're inhabiting right here and right now, and how we can reclaim the practice of coming home to the radical present. So there's also something about our world right now that is encouraging of exile. And exile, exile is an interesting a word, means to cast out, right? To cast out. And we're literally in a time right now in our country when there is a kind of othering happening. And not just our country, it's our whole world, where othering has become more normal then it is abnormal. And I think we are wired, right? Social scientists say we are, for tribalism. And that's a wiring that we have to, we're also wired for compassion, right? So we can decide what networks we want to encourage. And, the networks that encourage tribalism are those tendencies we have to see the other as apart from us, like people that don't look like us. We put them in a category of less trustworthy than the people that look like us. So we really have to work to begin to extend our heart, to open our heart to all people and all beings, right? Includes our relationship to animals, our relationship to plants, that they are somehow other and lesser than. So we have to really make an effort to not exile in the real world, not exile others from our heart in the real world. But that exiling practice, it may be difficult for us to change it alone in the real world. We could change it together. But the exiling begins with this um, this organism. So the exiling that happens right now with this organism is that we're living our lives, but we're not quite inhabiting them. And in some ways, that's what the Buddha taught, was how to inhabit your life rather than not quite inhabiting your life. Living your life, but not quite inhabiting your life. So the practice is to start to see how we're here, but we're also elsewhere. And that is something that is going on much of in our ordinary existence. We're replaying something that has happened already, or we are rehearsing something that might happen. And sometimes we're managing what's happening right now, or we're narrating what's happening right now. We're bracing against an imagined future. And so the invitation of practice is not to become someone new or different, but rather to stop leaving, and to start coming home. So our suffering, the Buddha talked a lot about suffering. That was his first teaching, Four Noble Truths. What is suffering? He called it dukkha. And in some of the later teachings that I received from my teachers used to talk about dukkha as three kinds, and it used to help me to think about it that way. What is dukkha? What is suffering, really? What is suffering? The Buddha very concerned with that question, because we can't know how to uproot suffering unless we understand what causes it, right? Or we can't begin to experience the taste of liberation unless we understand what's keeping us shackled. So suffering, my teachers used to say, is of three kinds. The physical suffering, pain, what we might call pain, physical suffering, mental emotional suffering, second kind, mental emotional suffering, anguish, despair, depression, anxiety. And then the third kind, which is the most interesting in some ways, is dissatisfactoriness, a subtle sense of dissatisfactoriness. So pain we know, pain we understand, we recognize, we've experienced. It's it's my arthritis in the morning. It's something we experience daily, especially as we age, right? Mental anguish, anxiety, depression, sadness, irritation, that's something that we can recognize fairly easily. But the third kind, this subtle dissatisfactoriness that we carry moment to moment, is much harder to recognize. What it is this wish that we were somehow not where we really are. This little bit of sense that if we were just had more, or we just had different, that we would be happy. And in essence, this third kind of suffering is this very subtle sense of not enoughness that we carry. Very subtle. And that subtle not enoughness manifests as this little bit of craving that we have all the time. We crave something to be just a little bit different than how it is, or we resist what is happening right now and we feel aversion for it. I don't like this moment. I don't like this thing that's happening to me at this moment. It's a very subtle sense. It starts subtle and becomes very overt, right? Starts subtle, becomes very overt. The invitation of practice actually is to start to realize, start to understand, start to experience this moment as sufficient. In a sense, what we're doing every moment is we're exiling ourselves from what is. It's about absence. Suffering, this deepest kind, this third kind, is about not being truly present enough to understand the enoughness of what is here now. We're not convinced that what we have is enough. So we keep trying to leave. We keep trying to get out of what we're experiencing. And that expresses itself as an absence from the body, getting out of the body and up into the world of ideas to escape into the head, to escape into the stories, to escape into the media, to escape into distraction, to escape into our phones, right? To escape from whatever we're experiencing, to absence from the body, to absence from the moment, to escape the moment that we're in, and to escape the conditions, whatever those might be at the moment, right? To try to escape the conditions that are creating whatever experience we're having right now. So one way for us to start to hold on, just my notes, to start to come home, start to return, how do we get back, is by coming into the body and to start to notice, what am I sensing? What am I feeling? What am I seeing? What am I hearing? And when we start to do that, we begin to notice that the moment is not as harsh as we imagined. The moment is actually intimate. And what we're experiencing in the moment is fascinating, interesting. and enough. That's hard to see when we're so caught up in the cycle of escape, the cycle of absence, the cycle where we're leaning a little bit into the future all the time. To go from leaning forward to leaning back, relaxing back into what is the practice. And I might call that myself a practice of radical presence. And radical presence because, we might think we're present, right? Do you feel you're present? Right? I'm not somewhere else. I am really here. But slowly, as you start to practice a practice like meditation, where you slow way down and you still the body and you still the mind. When your body stills, the nervous system slows and the mind's frenetic energy eventually follows. It takes a while, right, at first, but eventually the mind follows. And as the mind starts to slow down, we begin to notice that, oh, I'm caught up all the time. I'm caught up in thinking about, ruminating about what happened this morning and could I have done it differently? And maybe I should have, right? Or thinking about the future, planning, right? This or that, this big plan that I have for next year, or I need to plan for this afternoon, or I need to. Rarely are we in the present moment. But what you notice in meditation, meditation is this experience of keep stepping back to the present moment, come to the breath, come home to the breath, come home to the body, come home to the now. But what you start to notice is even as you come home to the now, there's this subtle pasting and futuring, right? So there's this, that the now that we live in is sandwiched between an imagined future and an imagine that we lived past. So it's bordered. It's a bordered present. And when you have a border, there's a rubbing up against those other two times. And in Buddhist texts, they call those the three times: the past, the present, and the future. But in past, present, and future, but in the practice of meditation, if you go deep enough, there's something called the fourth time. And that's where we're getting to the difference between present and radical present. What is the fourth time? How could there be a fourth time? The fourth time is this time outside of linear time. Linear time, past, present, future, we're on this timeline. But in the fourth time, you get off the line. You get offline. You get off the line. And how do you get off the line? By deepening so far into the present, the bordered present, that you lose the borders. And you have an experience of there being nothing but now. That now is all that ever existed. You get in touch with something that is not bordered, that is an eternal now. And that's the fourth time, or what I'll call here radical presence instead of presence. Radical presence is a kind of presence that isn't caught up in the linear time. And it's possible that there's a part of us that's already there, and a part of us that's caught up in linear time. That's what the yogis of the past would tell us, those who have seen this time outside of time, that it is not apart from who you are. So let's ask ourselves, I want to explore this. What is radical presence? Radical presence is non-exclusive. It's non-selective. It doesn't mean calm instead of agitation or peace instead of grief. It means letting it all be here now, whatever it is. So letting joy be here and letting sorrow be here, letting boredom, tenderness, fear, and love all belong. Radical presence says nothing needs to leave for me to arrive. So there's this quality of radical presence that is about not exiling anything outside of your here and now, not making your anxiety leave, not making your depression leave for you to be happy. That actually the happiness comes from letting it be here as it is. And where we suffer is the managing and the pushing away and trying to grasp and get something else that we think is called happiness and make it come here. To be present is to stop editing your reality and to stop editing yourself. And that takes courage. Just want to bring that to the fore for a moment. It's not easy to trust your present moment like that if you haven't done it before. So there's some aspect of this that requires a strength of character in us, this willingness not to exile, not to leave, not to absence our moment, ourself, or to try to exile the other from our experience. And at first, it's the other is the parts of ourselves that we don't like. We could call our own inner uh, demons, if you will. So we start with our inner demons. We invite them to tea. And that takes courage, right? You have to be willing to see what's there, see who's there. Courage. But eventually, as you practice that way, it starts to affect how you see the real others out there. They are not to be exiled either. They are the ones we need to invite to tea. And that is a brave stance on our reality. Our reality is gnarly right now. And there's a lot out there that we can get riled up about othering. And we can let a part of ourselves do that. But as practitioners, we're inviting ourselves to start to be true to the part of ourselves that won't exile anyone or anything from our experience, that we need to be in relationship with what is there. And to do that is a radical act of courage. the willingness and the curiosity it takes to open the heart within a field of refuge, within a field of safety, within a field of finding support. To, yes, yes, find our supports. Very important, right? That practice of refuge is so wise. It's this encouragement not to go it alone, because the path that we're traveling takes so much. Um, so much about leaning in, right? You have to lean in within a field of safety. So, so what does it entail to become radically present? It also entails letting go of the inner project, that is, seeing ourselves as unfinished projects that need to be brought to completion. And in one way, yes, we are training and we are improving and we are working on this relative self. But in a deeper way, we have to have a certainty that when we are fully here, even for a moment, the project stops. There is nothing to fix, nothing to resolve, and there is nothing to become. Presence interrupts the project, the self-improvement project, in a very healthy way. Presence reminds us that we are enough. We've never actually been broken, we've just been absent. And that's what we're starting to see as we practice it from this place of a radical presence, of a homecoming to everything here as it is, right? We begin to realize that awareness is already present, that listening is already happening, whether or not we're on board with the listening, that our entire being is a listening being. Our senses are hearing, our eyes are seeing, our skin is feeling into what is here now. Our heart is experiencing feeling and emotion right now. Our heart is listening. And life is already living itself. That is happening right now. We are on the ride of radical presence, whether or not we realize it. We are on the ride, a non-linear ride. So we can begin to ask ourselves this question: who is it that needs to arrive? Who needs to stop leaving? And in asking that question, we are gradually drawn home to our true home, which is a place of non-linear, non-separate enoughness. It is the part of us that sees through the illusion of this small, narrow, self-contained I, and begins to understand we are the universe experiencing itself. You are the universe experiencing itself, much bigger than we ever believed. And this invitation of practice is not to just be satisfied with that as an idea. Ideas come and go, beliefs come and go. What we're looking for in practice is to embody that truth, that we have never been separate. that we've never left. This is not a philosophical understanding. It is an experiential one that we are after in practice. And to do that, to really get there, we have to relax the search itself. Yes, we seek, yes, we yearn to know the more that we are, but gradually the process is about letting go of searching, coming home, letting go of leaving, coming back. And what remains when we come home, really home, again and again, is wakefulness and simplicity, a sense of being met by experience rather than chasing it. So when we start to live from home, when we start to come home, we can start to live from home. And it doesn't mean living from home doesn't mean staying on your meditation cushion forever. It means speaking from a place of presence, listening without rehearsing, and letting life meet you instead of you trying to live life, letting go of the effort. And we're still going to leave again and again. Oh, we're going to leave and we can come back. We have a place to come back to. And that's what we're cultivating. That's refuge. We are not just taking refuge, we are becoming refuge, becoming the place of safety, becoming the place of presence, and becoming the open heart. So we don't need to find it somewhere outside. That's the practice, that's the cultivation. And when we leave, the challenge for us is to return without judgment. Like just return, it's no problem. And it's a natural dance. That's a natural dance. The leaving and the coming home, the leaving and the coming home, natural dance. And every time we return, it's an act of love. It's a love for ourselves. It's a love for the world to come home. So radical presence, this thing that I'm talking about today, it isn't exotic. It's not a mystery. It's an ongoing practice, and it's ordinary. It's a willingness to be where you already are. And in that willingness, something settles, something remembers. And you are no longer a visitor in your own life. You are home. So those are my thoughts today on radical presence and the end of exile. And I'd love to hear from you if you have any questions or reflections. So we're going to go for another 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to dedicate. So just want to open it up to you for a little bit to share. So curious what you're thinking, feeling. So we do tend to use the raise hand function. I see Betsy, you're raising your hand, so I will call on you first. But everyone else, if you can, go to your screen to find your raise hand button if you want to share. You're welcome to share. Hi, Betsy. You can unmute. I think you
Hello,
are unmuted.
it's
Hi.
it's it's wonderful to be here.
Where are
Yeah,
you? Where are you beaming in from?
oh, Washington D.C. Lots of
Oh,
ugly things happening here, but not in my
yeah.
house. Oh, that's what I raised my hand to say is can I see gallery view, but suddenly it appeared. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
all I need. I just wanted to say one thing is I keep your book by my bedside and I read it every night. But I'll just let things continue and I'm listening.
Thank you, Betsy. Nice to
Ah,
see you. Nice to meet you.
thank
May peace be prevail in Washington. Renee,
Okay, I
where are
think
you? Where are you,
I'm
Renee?
in Sudbury, outside of Boston.
All right.
Yeah, I want to thank you for your talk. It really is so topical and perfect for where I am these days and what I've been wrestling with. And I think of that poet, and I don't even know who it was, but that we're on Earth as troubled guest. And I've really been experiencing all those parts that are so dissatisfied. And I love what you said about we've never been broken. We've just been absent. And
Mm.
that's profound. That I'm going to remember that for a long time. So thank you.
Thank you, Renee. And welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy. Nancy,
Hi,
where are you
everyone.
right now? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, everyone in Lama Willa. I'm also right outside of Washington, D.C. Fun. And, uh, well, my question has to do with my practice that I'm doing the Vajrayogini sadhana, which I love. And as you well know, there's this part where you're creating this visualization. And what I noticed is that there's a part of me that gets kind of mechanical, and then there's a part that lets go. And what I'm thinking after listening to your beautiful talk today, that it all has to do with intention, that, what's my intention when going into this sadhana? So I was wondering if you could comment on that.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's very insightful that the intention matters so much for sadhana practice. Sadhana practice, for those of you that don't know that word, it's just a practice of chanting and visualizing yourself as an archetype of impartial love and wisdom. And you envision yourself as this archetype named Vajrayogini in this particular case. So I would say about that Vajrayogini is radical presence embodied, and that what you're doing is you're becoming her as a skillful means for realizing that you already are her. You've always been her. You've always been the goddess. You've always been the goddess. And the becoming of the goddess is a recognition of that. Is a working against our conventional ways of thinking of ourselves as is so limited and broken and wounded, and all the things that we have, all the stories we have about the self. And and the Vajrayogini practice is a way to invoke the part of us that is already awake and fiercely compassionate, and to imagine that as a way of bringing our conceptual mind along to believe, yes, I am already that. So when you understand that whole framework when you start becoming mechanical in your practice, and this could apply to any practice, we can get mechanical about any practice. We can get mechanical about watching the breath. But whatever, when we get into that micromanaging kind of mindset, is we can just counteract it a little with relaxing back into the wholeness that we already are. And then you can toggle between making some effort in the visualization and being effortless. Effort and effortless, effort and effortless. It's a training, right?
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Steve. Nice to see you there at Wonderwell. Welcome, welcome. So happy to hear you're there. It's just beautiful, just beautiful.
Oh, it's
So
good to
good to
be
see you.
here.
Yeah.
Keeps me busy. But so I just wanted to comment to the phrase you had about leaving and coming home as a natural dance and return without judgment. My experience is when I leave is when I place more judgment on myself, and when I return home, and it's just good to come home. So, anyway, thank you.
Yeah, it's a real practice to um, that letting go of self-judgment, and there's a myth of failure, the myth of failure.
Mhm.
So starting to see that is profound, and a lifelong practice of self-love. Keep on with the self-love, and self-love is not about um, putting yourself above others. It's about recognizing, softening and recognizing your equality with others so that you can love yourself as you love the other. And that's a real, really important part of this letting go of the exiling that we do. Yes. Right. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Christine. Where are you, Christine?
I'm in Amherst, Massachusetts.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful part of Massachusetts.
It's so beautiful. It's so snowy.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was just thinking about the moment of return or deciding to return, and I'm thinking about sort of being out in my everyday life, and I've been noticing the courage, but something more like the effort it takes to reclaim my attention from all the things, from like the phone and the news and the plans and the feeling slightly bad about what's happening and the feeling like I'm yeah, like just that feeling of dissatisfaction also. And um I've been noticing that it requires a lot of trust to come back because it requires feeling things. Like, I don't actually want to pretty often. And I was, yeah. And so while you were talking about support, I was just thinking, well, what are the places in my life where I feel support to feel things? Or what practices help me feel things without, with space around them so that I can come back
Mm-hmm.
with some trust that I'll be held in that. And like, how does that help that moment of effort where I have to make a decision, like instead of reading the news while I'm having breakfast, I'm gonna stare out at the window. Just thinking about that. I'm wondering, yeah, what your thoughts are about
Mm-hmm.
courage, that moment, and the trust it takes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I'm finding a skillful relationship to coming home to what is in the present moment is part of this whole trajectory of radical presence that um, we, in order to do that, we need to create a very friendly environment for our feelings, very friendly environment for our feelings. And also to recognize that sometimes we do need to distract ourselves, and that's okay too. But I think we lean way in the direction of distracting ourselves, and that's part of the skillful means, is just to bring ourselves back again and again, come home and again. And but I would say about the friendly environment, becoming a friendly host to what you're feeling is really important. We can't really move very far forward on a spiritual path until we create that friendly environment, that loving environment for what is going to walk in the door. And that takes a lot of, you know, work around, just day by day work to be friendly, especially to the more challenging parts of your personality and challenging parts of your feeling life too, and relationship to what's happened to you in your life, and all of that. Yeah. Mhm. And sometimes, you're holding space for yourself, but sometimes it's helpful to have someone else hold space for you when you're doing that work. And that's why we have therapists, and that's why we go to retreat and so forth, is to be held. And a skillful way to continue to hold ourselves is to allow ourselves to be held by others too. Yeah, Christine. Yeah, really nice to meet you. I see Janet's hand up.
Good afternoon. I'm Janet. I live in Haverhill, Massachusetts. You can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, One of the ways I talk to myself when I start to feel very helpless and hopeless about um, the catastrophe that is our country currently and the world and the planet, um, I keep reminding myself that it's temporary. And granted, we don't know how long temporary is. And I'm wondering if there's some kind of contradiction in looking at it that way vis-a-vis being in the moment. Because my coping strategy is to, you know, while telling myself it's temporary, it's kind of pushing the future. You know what I mean?
Well, one of the what we're doing with radical presence is we're showing up for our life. We're showing up for our life, and it is a template for showing up for what's happening too right now in this crazy world. And so I think what I'm saying, Janet, is it can be helpful. And I do this practice with myself too, mentally, to remember all things are impermanent. Everything is going to change for better or for worse, or whatever. There's going to be, but whatever better and worse mean, things are going to get hard, and things are going to end, and things are going to change, and things are going to be born. It's the nature of life that is so. However, we also are learning to show up. And so just to say, we need to show up to be in this time, and we need to, sometimes that means we need to show up in our stand up, in our dissatisfaction with what is happening in the world too. And yes, things are good as they are from one perspective, from the timeless now, radical presence perspective, yes. And we also need to show up when there's suffering. We have to show up when there is injustice, and do something. So I think I want to just say that I do think, when we're in this context of the spiritual realm and we're talking about presence, it can sometimes sound like we're escaping into presence too. We could escape into presence. And I think we want to recognize that these times need us to be there, and they need us to be vocal, and they need us to show up. And so whatever that means in your community, for me, it means, going to the marches here on the Big Island, going out there and making signs and walking with the people that are there doing that. Right. So finding your way to show up is important. Alan, hi, Alan. Alan, you're going to be the last one I take here before we dedicate. Yes.
I'll maybe be quick. I mean,
Yeah, it's okay. Take your time.
Yeah. So I'm interested. You were talking about that third kind of suffering, and I think I've been getting more sort of attuned and aware of it. And as you're also talking about making a welcoming place for all our feelings, thoughts, etc. Maybe because it's somewhat of a newer level of awareness. I just wonder, it's sort of easy. Like I feel anger, and I'm able to do, for instance, compassionate presence, or I'm sad, or I'm whatever. It's a little bit more discreet, if you will, kind of a classic emotion. But that sort of dissatisfaction kind of wavelength that I become aware of. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just use the same kind of tools. I don't know if you have any thoughts or any kind of different suggestions for kind of really allowing that to be present and working with it, being ways to come back to presence. I'll stop with that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we all have our ways, and but I think the most important thing is to make space, and when a strong emotion is coming up, to give it space, and to fill the space with the gaze of a loving witness, to shift to the gaze of a loving witness, which means being able to uh, come home to the part of you that is aware, but not judgmental. Aware, but um, not needing to fact. and warm. Yeah. Mhm. Does that help? Is that what you're asking? What is my go-to if I miss something? You're muted.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think the answer is, I mean, responding to emotion. I was sort of more tuning into the more subtle and not as gross, if you will, emotions, and just
Okay.
helping, I guess, helping the part of me that's the welcoming presence, really be able to be attuned and welcome that, just that sort of low level dissatisfaction that's, the more subtle suffering you were talking about. I suspect it's kind of all the same thing, but it struck me as, like having that guest house of welcoming anger or fear or whatever the thing is maybe I'm just more used to that than just like something's not right. Something should be different without a particular.
Oh yeah, I see, I see, I see. Yeah, I find it really, oh yeah, the subtle ones. Slowing down is my big go-to. If I notice the dissatisfaction thing, is to slow down and then to really go in there, like, what is it? What's the offness? What's off? And then to start listening to the body, not to the mind. The mind is going to have all kinds of stories, but like the body, what's off and where is it in the body? Where am I feeling the dissatisfactoriness? And then slowly that unfolds into what it is. It's usually deeper than it seems to be. There can be some real depth to our dissatisfaction, and there can be some real messages and things we need to listen to and see what's going on there. What is it really? I just maybe an invitation to slow down and be curious about it. It's curious about it. And the body helps me a lot with that because my mind is racing, right? But the body, you can kind of get down there and feel it. Like, I feel this little bit of, but what is really going on? And that'll take you to a larger relationship between the conditions and this organism and your history. And that's the relative work is juicy. Kind of to keep coming home to the radical presence and keep finding a deep home here, we have to also work with all that too, right? It's really interesting and juicy.
Yeah, that's great. That's helpful. I had that thought about, wow, this is a time to check the body, and so thank you. That was very helpful.
Mm. Well, thank you all. So good to see you. And thank you for being here this morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. And have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your Sunday. Sending you all much care. Oh, our dedication. Thank you. Marching Panam Sepanyan Panitan Ome Hangin Kawan. May the pure, brilliant sun of Bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness, the suffering and confusion, unstoppably until all are fully illumined and awakened. Thank you, everyone. And see you soon.